Live from our studios in Columbia, South Carolina ETV presents Debate 1990. Tonight, we bring you the candidates for governor. Senator Theo Mitchell of Greenville, the Democratic candidate. John Peoples of Charleston, the American Party candidate. And Herb Silverman, an independent write-in candidate. And now your host, Tom Fowler.
Good evening. This is the final debate in our series on the contested statewide offices. Candidates for governor will respond to questions from a panel of journalists and state their points of view in opening and closing statements. The order was determined by a draw before the program. Our candidates are Theo Mitchell. Senator Mitchell is the Democratic candidate for governor and is from Greenville. John Peoples is the American Party candidate. He is from Charleston. And Herb Silverman is an independent write-in candidate. He was unable to obtain a position on the ballot but has participated in joint appearances with the other candidates. He is from Charleston. Governor Campbell was invited but declined to appear. Our panel of journalists are Brenda Jones of WWDM Radio Sumter, Andy Brack of the News and Courier in Charleston, and Barry Myers with South Carolina Educational Radio. He reports for Dateline Carolina. We will go now to opening statements, and for the first, here is Dr. Silverman.
Thank you. Why would someone who has never run for political office suddenly be a candidate for governor of South Carolina? Well, last year I learned that our state constitution prohibits me and anyone else who does not believe in a supreme being from becoming governor. This violates our U.S. Constitution that no religious test shall be required for any public office. I then found that the only way to challenge this law was to become a candidate. In my political naivete, I expected that Governor Campbell and the Attorney General would uphold the U.S. Constitution and strike down this archaic law. Unfortunately, political expediency seems more important than principle to many of our elected officials. My campaign is not anti-religious. I have two reasons for running: to change our state constitution and to promote religious tolerance for believer and non-believer alike. To me, this is a civil rights issue, and I think it is an insult to the people of South Carolina to say they are incapable of deciding for themselves whether to vote for an otherwise qualified candidate who happens not to believe in a supreme being. Now let me comment briefly about some of the more traditional gubernatorial issues. As a teacher most of my life, I believe the key for a progressive and vital South Carolina lies in the education of its citizens. We can talk about building more bridges, roads, and prisons, but building the minds of our youth is what is most needed, and that is where the bulk of our resources should be invested. I would like to see a state lottery with the proceeds earmarked for education. I'm against capital punishment, which has never been shown to be a deterrent.
15.
And finally, I am pro-choice. Neither I nor anyone else should interfere with a woman's right to choose. Thank you.
We move now to Senator Theo Mitchell and his opening statement. Senator Mitchell.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Theo Mitchell from Greenville, and for the last 16 years I have served in the General Assembly of South Carolina, 10 years in the House of Representatives, and the last 6 in the Senate. I have endeavored to be a part of the progression forward in our state government. I have been a part of what we call the cutting edge as it relates to education, the environment, and the rights of our citizens. I believe that the American dream can be fulfilled if we make it an objective and work towards it. I believe that all people should have representation and be able to have a proportionate share of our dollar. I believe our children are our most important products, for they are indeed the future. I believe that education is, in fact, 90% of that which we endeavor to resolve in poverty, ignorance, hate, superstition, bigotry, and other matters which have individuals not understand each other. I believe that our state should not be for sale. And certainly I believe that for the last 4 years we have had the state sold by special interest groups who have ventured to say purchased themselves and rights that have not been in keeping with what South Carolina should be about, a state that should be open for all of our citizens. I believe that we have become the dumping ground of the nation. I believe that our automobile insurance rates are too high.
15.
I believe that our taxes are inequitable and unjust and regressive. And I believe that education is the key to unlock all the doors of our limitations. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mitchell. Now for his opening statement, John Peoples.
Thank you. I want to take this opportunity to talk about the American Party, its platform, and some of the ways that we can help you administer your government during the coming next few years. The next few years is going to be a time of change. Technology is going to be the foundation of this change. The computers and the electronic technology is not at the point where it can put the intellectual capacity of society in the hands of the common man. Those who can keep up with the change, who can accept it, will move on into the next generation. Those who can't and try and hang on to an inequitable tax system, a monetary system that is facing its problems, savings and loan institutions facing bankruptcy, foreclosure, and the emerging municipal junk bond market will not be able to accept these changes. Our government is a constitutional government. There is a limitation on the capacity of our officials. The American Party is based on a principle that God's government is above man's government. And this, in a philosophical way, will prevent any man from obtaining a position of omnipotent deity or omnipotent sadism in the administration of your state government. And thank you very much.
Okay. We'll begin a series of questions, going first to Brenda Jones of WWDM Radio. And Brenda will have the question for Dr. Silverman.
Dr. Silverman, do you see yours as a serious candidate for the office of governor, or are you simply trying to make a point?
Well, I consider myself a serious candidate, but I'm an atheist. I'm not a fool. I don't think that I have a chance to win the election. But the point that I do want to make is that everyone, regardless of their beliefs, should be allowed to run for office. And we have that occurring with one exception. For instance, I could say I think that blacks are inferior and that we should go back to slavery, and I'm allowed to run for office. But if I can't say that I happen not to believe in a supreme being and be qualified to run for office. And that is unfair, and it's also unconstitutional. And I'm hoping to have that changed, as well as I'm going around campaigning to change some hearts and minds of my fellow South Carolinians to promote more religious tolerance for people who have beliefs different from their own. Because most people were born into a religion and haven't spent much more time thinking about it than how the time they spend choosing a new automobile. And I would like them to spend the time to examine their roots and also to think in terms of tolerance of others.
Okay. Senator Mitchell, response, up to a minute.
Thank you. I certainly have no problem with Dr. Silverman running for office and running for governor. I believe that if he's an American citizen and has no disqualifying crimes or any other attributes which are of a negative connotation or nature, then he should be allowed to run for whatever office that he otherwise is qualified to offer.
Mr. Peoples.
Running for office is a privilege. Our forefathers were in touch with nature. They knew the sounds of nature. They knew the individual characteristics of human beings, and they knew good government and bad government. And they built the foundation of our state government on the principles of a higher being so that they would have a good government.
Okay, we'll go down to Andy Brack with a question for Senator Mitchell.
Good evening, gentlemen. Senator, Governor Campbell basically is not here tonight because you didn't apologize for saying that 6 of his black supporters were, quote, house niggers, unquote, and black prostitutes, also in quotes. Since those remarks in your campaign, there seems to have been an erosion of some of your support. Why didn't you apologize, and can you clear up this issue for the voters out in South Carolina?
It's nothing to clear up. I should have said it 15 years ago. You forgot to say that I said Uncle Tom's, too. I had no intention on apologizing to Campbell or those 6 individuals who were, in some way or another, received 30 pieces of silver, including the bishop who was flown in from St. Louis, Missouri, paid to endorse this governor, and made the statement, quote, that there is no black person who is capable or qualified to be governor of South Carolina. That was the offense there, because not only did it diminish me, it diminished the people of South Carolina, more particularly the black youths, who are looking to black people and black males in particular for leadership. If you can't respect your leaders, who are your elders, then there are small chances that we're going to rehabilitate a lot of the youth over on the corner who are on drugs and who have given up hope of ever achieving anything of any measurable worth. Consequently, I felt that it was my responsibility to bring to an end the traditional selling out of the black people and the black vote by so-called black leadership, and I did. Unfortunately, 20 years too late.
Mr. Peoples, any response?
If we try and address this issue in an intellectual capacity, we can talk about the money situation. Our country is run on a credit money system since the 30s, and the rules of credit money are set down in the Uniform Commercial Code. And that rule is when the instrument is not presented in the proper amount of time, it becomes worthless. The loss is yours, and it is as money in your hands. Now, do you want the best governor money can buy? And that's credit money. That's my response.
Dr. Silverman.
I agree with the sentiment that Senator Mitchell expressed, but I wasn't happy about the actual comment, because the way I view it is that in some way blacks have achieved equality with whites, that I think it shows that blacks in power are just as capable as whites of putting self-interest and political expediency above principle. And I regret hearing the term nigger, because that's a term that I've hoped would eventually die out. And because the media has caught on to that, it seems to be becoming more prevalent again than I would like.
Okay. Barry Myers, question for Mr. Peoples.
Gentlemen, good evening. Mr. Peoples, what problems do you have with the 2 major political parties that you didn't want to run for governor representing them?
My friends came by and invited me to run on the American Party ticket. I've never been associated with either the Republican or the Democratic Party. So I didn't have an invitation from them.
Dr. Silverman.
Okay. I don't have problems with the 2 major parties. In fact, I had been a lifelong Democrat. I think it was more that the major parties had problems with me. I think privately most felt that I did have the right to run, but wouldn't want to say that publicly because of fear of alienating some of the other voters. I tend to think that principle tends to take a back seat to politics and with both of the major parties.
Okay. Senator.
I'm proud to be a Democrat. I chose to run as a Democrat when I launched my political career because the Democratic Party embraces the philosophy of which I believe. And we can improve our lots and our lifestyle by putting up ourselves with our own bootstraps. And that this party represents the mosaic patterns of individuals, black, white, young, old, rich, poor, women and men, mechanic, engineers, doctors, lawyers, farmers, and whatever the myriad of relative relationships to professions and occupations it represents. I believe in the 2-party system or the tri-party system. I believe blacks should be in all of these parties. And had there been black Republicans who had endorsed my opponent,
15.
who had traditional ties with the party, I would have had no problem. Selling out for money is the problem I have.
Dr. Silverman, every governor faces many difficult decisions. In recent years, the re-emerging of capital punishment in this state has been one that recent governors had to face. What is your position on capital punishment?
I'm against capital punishment. It has never been a deterrent to crime, And further, I think I tend to be a pacifist as well. I would rather put people in prison who deserve to be in prison, but not take another human life. And I'm surprised that the most conservative people, the religious right of this country, are the ones who are most for capital punishment, because there certainly seems to be a lot of reason in the Bible to be against capital punishment. He who is without sin should cast the first stone. And what better indication to be opposed to capital punishment than that Jesus died for a crime that he did not commit, through capital punishment.
Senator Mitchell.
Thank you. As Theo Mitchell, I am against capital punishment, but as governor of South Carolina, I am duty-bound to uphold the laws and the Constitution of South Carolina. I believe each capital case should be reviewed on an individual basis, and I believe that after having reviewed it, if it's found that there has been a fair trial, there has been no prejudice attached, then the individual should be put to death pursuant to the law and carrying out the constitutional mandates. I would have no problem executing the laws and the Constitution of South Carolina.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Peoples.
Capital punishment is death. And death under government is something that should be administered with due process of law to its fullest. Government sets an example for the population. And if government starts executing people arbitrarily, then the population will follow. In 1215, Magna Carta was a result of over 250 death penalties that could be administered at the will of the sheriff.
Okay. Brenda, a question for Senator Mitchell.
Thank you. Senator Mitchell, you have the endorsement of the gay and lesbian pride movement. Some people might view that in itself as a controversial issue. How do you see the endorsement as benefiting your campaign?
I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for all the endorsements I have received, Brenda. I certainly pass judgment not on anyone. I'm not in position to judge people or condemn people. That's the problem now. People who want to restrict the gay and lesbian rights, some of them want to restrict my rights and women's rights. I certainly feel they are human beings. I'm a human rightist. I am the candidate who can truly say that my political career has embraced the representation of all the people. And as governor of South Carolina, I will be governor for all of the people.
Mr. Peoples, response?
Well, people can make their own decisions on their lifestyles, and they have to live with these decisions. And historically, a great amount of pressure has been put on people with adverse lifestyles. And one reason is because they normally don't have any children to live after them. And therefore their place in the world ceased to exist because of them adopting their lifestyle.
Dr. Silverman?
I disagree with Mr. Peoples. I think that gay and lesbians, as well as priests who don't have children to live after them also, should be afforded full human rights, as should blacks, women, atheists, and all other minority groups.
Okay. Andy Bragg, question for Mr. Peoples.
Mr. Peoples, you've said that you oppose violent nationalism and extreme police force, and that those things in society are representative of a failing tax structure. Could you please explain what that means?
Well, I had a chance to do some research on a medical malpractice case last year. And in doing so, I read a book called The Nazi Doctors. And I was able to identify certain characteristics of society in Nazi Germany that are showing up here. And one of them is when the monetary system starts to fail and the military and the tax system get overly aggressive, that people start losing their rights. The right to property, the right to life, the right to think and associate with those whom they would like to. And the police are one of the more aggressive forces in dealing with the population, in denying them their natural rights of travel, food and drink, communications, and the right to own and possess property.
Dr. Silverman.
Well, in addition to being an atheist, I'm also Jewish. And I don't feel that there's any connection at all between what's going on in this country and what happened in Nazi Germany. I think Nazi Germany was mainly an outgrowth of racial and religious intolerance taken to its extreme. We have some here that I'm hoping will correct, but certainly we're nowhere near the condition that existed in Nazi Germany.
Senator.
I certainly feel that and it may well be that I may have missed part of the question. I lost myself with Mr. Peoples, but I certainly feel that we have certainly room to improve our relationship in an interpersonal relationship, and if that is the direction in which we are headed. A lot of attitudes in which we are having certainly negative, and certainly some of the leadership that seek to even escape the scrutiny of the people tonight hasn't done the job in setting the pace for the people of this state to gravitate to each other rather than polarize and pull apart.
Okay. Barry Myers, question for Dr. Silverman.
Dr. Silverman, if you were elected governor, what would be your first act that you would do as governor of South Carolina?
Well, if I won the election, probably the first thing I would do would be to ask for a recount, because I certainly don't expect to win. But one thing that I would do would be to take the Confederate flag off of the state capitol. To me, and I think to most of the rest of the world, it's a symbol of racial intolerance and bigotry. And we in the South are trying to become more progressive. We're trying to attract high-tech industry into the South, and we should try to do away with some of the vestiges of part of our inglorious past and move toward those things that we do take pride in as a community. And I think usually when we see the Confederate flag being waved, it's in the general media, it's by the Ku Klux Klan and by other groups talking about racial hatred. I have no problem for individuals who want to express their views in the privacy of their house or in their property by having a Confederate flag, but I don't think that it should be run by the state.
Senator.
Thank you. Since for the first time in the history of South Carolina, the FBI is investigating not only the General Assembly, but the office of Governor of South Carolina, I would put forth a written ethics policy in the office of Governor of South Carolina before I talk about sending a message up to anybody else.
Mr. Peoples.
The first thing I would do as governor would start an investigation into the unconscionable debt collection practices of our mortgage companies. People are faced with the mortgage companies getting a check, sending it back, holding the next one, saying they can't get the two mixed up, and putting them into foreclosure. This is done to raise between $500 and $1,000 a year that can be confiscated through an escrow account in which people pay for taxes and insurance. Now, it's the older people in a society who are getting hit by these unconscionable debt collection practices. The people with 4 3/4% and 5 1/4% mortgages, which are paid down to about $4,000.
Senator Mitchell, in this ongoing FBI sting in South Carolina, it's been pointed out by many observers there is a large percentage of the black caucus, in terms of the percentage of the caucus implicated in this. What is your view on this, and what implications does this have for our state?
Certainly. Tom, it's very unfortunate that all the individuals, notwithstanding their membership in the Black Caucus, certain ones have been implicated in this unfortunate situation. Certainly when we look at 170 members of the General Assembly as far as members are concerned, and we look at those who have been implicated, and 50% happen to be of the minority race who have been implicated, then it is very distressing. Certainly I asked the question as to who chose the individuals, why were they chosen, and for what reason. That has yet to be answered. It's just unfortunate that these things have occurred. I know about as much about what has happened as anyone in this room, except to say that South Carolina will be able to overcome it. And notwithstanding the General Assembly's black eye, we have problems in state government. And new leadership certainly is not only needed, but it is basically required.
Mr. Peoples.
Well, this is the most outrageous scam that I've ever conceived of. In my dealings with public officials, I found that police officers are immune, judges are immune, professionals, social workers, and doctors are immune. For our legislators to be faced with such intolerable acts is criminal prosecution for anyone offering them to bribes. Here we have the utmost in blaming the victim. Confess, repent, and bring us your vote, or bring us your money. The victim is being victimized here, and it is the blackmailer and the briber who should be going to jail.
Dr. Silverman.
I think we have a severe problem with ethics in our government now. I know that a couple weeks ago I gave a math exam, and right after that, at the College of Charleston, and right after that a couple students came up to me offering to contribute to my campaign along with the exam booklet. Now I know that they were just kidding, but to some extent this seems to go on with our public officials almost as blatantly as that humorous incident.
Brenda Jones, a question for Mr. Peoples.
Thank you. Mr. Peoples, the American Party on the national level has taken a stand against abortion. The party wants to phase out Social Security, and they are against the ratification of the ERA in 1988. They took a stand against ratification of the ERA. How closely do your personal thoughts follow the national stand of the American Party, and how will that affect your support by women and the elderly?
Well, an administration of government is an administration of force. An administration of religion is an administration of psychology. And in force, the government shouldn't have any authority in either abortion or euthanasia. Euthanasia was a problem they had in Nazi Germany. Abortion is just an easy way into the door. Now, there's something that people face, the women have their problems and make their own decisions, but the state shouldn't have any say-so in it. That's the woman's decision, because she's going to have to live with that.
Dr. Silverman.
John, I hate to say this, but there you go again in terms of Nazi Germany. I think that there's a considerable difference between a woman's right to choose and what happened in Nazi Germany. I don't agree with any of the principles of the American Party as I read them. It's an offshoot of the George Wallace Party, and I wasn't comfortable with it when it was George Wallace's party, and I'm not comfortable with it now.
Senator Mitchell.
I certainly don't know the philosophy in depth of the American Party. I know the philosophy of the Democratic Party, and that party is a party which protects the rights, privileges, and immunities of its citizens. It believes in having an open primary. It believes in having a freedom of choice on the selection of candidates. It also believes in human rights. Many believe in women's rights, and certainly a lot believe in workers' rights. We believe in the fundamental rights of the individual, and we work to endeavor to put ourselves in position to advance and enhance the quality of life of all of our citizens rather than be restrictive. We have a compassion which we believe is unsurpassed by any other party for our citizens.
Turn to Andy Brack of the News and Courier. Question for Dr. Silverman.
Professor, you say that you're an atheist, not a fool, and you don't particularly expect to win. What would you consider a personal victory in this campaign?
I would consider it a victory if we can change our state constitution that prohibits people who don't believe in the supreme being from running. I'm also hoping to change some people's views in terms of religion. But I've been in academics most of my life, and I know that deferred gratification is something that goes with the territory. So I'm not hoping for a quick victory. I hope that in time people will become more tolerant of other people's points of view. We've done that some with blacks, women, gays, handicapped, and other forms of civil rights. This is just one more civil right that I hope we'll become more tolerant of.
Senator Mitchell.
Thank you. It may well be that there's work to be done on our Constitution. We call it cleaning up the laws. Certainly we want to be contemporary, and it may well be that there are other laws on the books which abridge the rights of our citizens. We must forever be on guard to see to it that if we meet the fundamental criteria, then there should be no arbitrariness taken as it relates to us seeking to offer ourselves and contribute what we have to uplift the people of South Carolina. And it may well be that we need to clean up parts of our Constitution as well as many of our laws.
Mr. Peoples.
There are a lot of people who would like to change our Constitution and accept a socialist Constitution. That's implementing the 10 regional government plan that was conceived back in the 30s and eliminate all human rights from the Constitution. It would be the same as everyone being a member of the Army and reporting to the captain, walk the plank, or go to the brig.
Barry Myers' question for Senator Mitchell.
Senator Mitchell, the power of a South Carolina governor compared to other governors' powers across the nation is weak. However, our General Assembly is one of the most powerful. Is there a dangerous imbalance between the two that can be corrected by a more powerful governor's office?
I don't believe so, unless it can be shown where there has been an abuse of the constitutional powers reposed in the constitutional offices. My opponent wants to consolidate, as he calls it, the powers into the office of governor of our Comptroller General, our Attorney General, our Commissioner of Agriculture. He wants to appoint them. He wants to appoint all of those who are already Democratic office holders. He also wants control of the Highway Department. He also wants control of the Department of Health and Environmental Control. I certainly can't see how this governor would want to seek to have more consolidation of power in his hands when he hasn't even been able to control his own office. It flies in the face of a power grab. Unless it can be shown that there's an enhancement of the quality of life of our citizens and being able to prepare for a better future for our children, then I feel that the matter should stay as it is, because we are a legislative state, and we are a state of the people, by the people, and for the people. And more people who can elect our public officials, the better off our democratic system is, rather than consolidating in the hand of one who has already abused it.
Mr. Peoples.
I find that we've gotten away from the three branches of government and the extreme jealousy that's supposed to be between those three branches of government. In the administration of our government, one hand is feeding the other hand. The judges look the other way, the bureaucrats get away with what they want to, and the legislatures enact more laws to put money in the hands of privileged groups. And that if people would go back to electing the officers, including county magistrates, get away from appointments and political special interest groups, we would have more jealousy between the three branches of government.
Dr. Silverman.
I don't know that the governor should have more power formally, but I do think that the governor should use the power of the bully pulpit to support some key programs. I would like him to speak out much more for the need to improve the educational system in South Carolina. I would hope that he would push for a state lottery with the proceeds going to education. So I would just like to see him work more for some of the things that are needed in South Carolina, rather than to try to encompass more power.
Mr. Peoples, this recent sting and ongoing investigation had as its hook support of a parimutuel betting bill, and that issue continues to come up as an option for the state to raise revenue. What is your position on parimutuel betting in the state?
I oppose it. People who want something for nothing are looking for trouble, and that's exactly what gambling is. The gambling shouldn't be illegal, but the collection of gambling debts should be illegal.
Dr. Silverman.
Well, I would be in favor of what I would consider a voluntary tax, which would be off-track betting or the state lottery. I think it's unfortunate that the sting operation focused on supporters or offering money to those who support off-track betting. I'm sure with the ethical politicians that we had, we could have had the same result had money been offered to oppose off-track betting.
Senator Mitchell.
Thank you. One thing I have learned is that over the years, when the pari-mutuel betting bill has been introduced in the Senate since I've been a member, it has grown in strength. And people are seeking now to vote on this bill. I certainly feel that this bill should be reported out for a referendum with the limitations on the monies derived from that particular legislation earmarked for education and health care. The people of South Carolina are spending millions of dollars in bingo. They are spending millions of dollars on lotto tickets, and they are certainly going to Florida and other places waging, and that's money that we aren't receiving. I believe the time has come for the citizens of South Carolina to be able to vote as to whether or not we will have pari-mutuel betting in South Carolina with the monies earmarked for education and health care.
Brenda Jones, question for Dr. Silverman.
Thank you. Dr. Silverman, how would you rate Governor Campbell's administration on trying to lower auto insurance rates, and how would you lower those rates if elected governor?
Well, in terms of auto insurance, what I would like to see is for us to go to no-fault insurance. It's worked in many other states to help cut down on the legal costs. And in fact, if the insurance companies and lawyers are against it, then it must be pretty good for the rest of us.
Senator Mitchell.
Thank you. I certainly rate Campbell a 0. I feel that when he was campaigning and promising the people of South Carolina that if he were elected, that he would lower automobile insurance rates, this man was taking money from the automobile insurance industry, and it's documented. You can't misrepresent the people of South Carolina for long. The bill in effect now went into effect after this governor was called upon to veto it, and he didn't. He laughed. He let this bill go into effect without his signature. The people are paying more for automobile insurance now, and they're getting less coverage. I certainly feel that the automobile insurance industry has too great a friend in the governor who is currently holding office. I certainly feel that the motoring public must have a revised automobile insurance law, and they must be a part of the solution, and they should be included as far as formulating any plan along with automobile insurance underwriters. This plus the industry must be fair, equitable, and just. And I believe those individuals who are in interest should be a part of it. And I believe the rates will, in fact, go down. At least they would under the Mitchell administration.
Thank you, Senator. Mr. Peoples.
The automobile insurance industry in this country is nothing more than another hidden tax. We have violent collection of taxes in the form of exorbitant insurance rates from anyone who wants to exercise his right of travel in the common mode of transportation of today. Insurance is a commodity. It's something that can be bought and sold, and only those persons required or who would like to buy the commodity should have the option of having non-mandatory insurance.
Andy Brack, question for Senator Mitchell.
Senator Mitchell, some political observers say that your campaign for governor has not been embraced by the throngs of people, as has the candidacy of Democrat Senate candidate Harvey Gantt in North Carolina. How do you account for the discrepancy in public perception between the two campaigns?
Well, I can't speak for Mr. Gantt. I can speak for me. And certainly I am an individual who have been out in the vineyard, and I have been shaking hands and meeting friends. I certainly feel good about my campaign. And notwithstanding what individuals are saying, I believe that the greatest poll, as I've told you before, that I believe in is the one after 7 o'clock on election day. So it doesn't bother me at all that individuals are speculating as to whether or not my candidacy has been embraced. I know for a fact I'm the only alternative to a decent, sane, and return to government for the people of South Carolina.
Mr. Peoples.
In my encounters with Senator Mitchell, I've found that he's a man to be respected in his candidacy. He's shown up, he's talked with the individuals, he's met in the gatherings for political communications. He's not afraid to come out and have his views, his decisions, and his political opinions questioned by the general public and the news media. I think Senator Mitchell has done an outstanding job.
Dr. Silverman.
Say what you want about Jesse Helms, and I'll say that I disagree with him just about everything, but at least he seems to take strong stands. My problem with Governor Campbell is he seems not to because he's afraid of alienating people. I know that when he heard that I was running, he just said that our state constitution is fine the way it is because our country was founded on godly principles. And he, I think, is intelligent enough to know that it violates our U.S. Constitution. I'm pleased that Senator Mitchell has taken the stand that I should have the right to run. I think it's the only ethical position to take, and I appreciate that from Senator Mitchell.
Barry Myers, question for Mr. Peebles.
Mr. Peebles, the race for governor has been mostly devoid of issues. Every politician is for more jobs, and every politician is for better education for the children of the state that he's running in. What issue has been overlooked and is of vital importance for South Carolinians?
One issue is the mineral rights. Read in the newspaper where they're having saltwater intrusion down in the lower portion of South Carolina around Hilton Head. These issues have been fought over the oil leases in the west, the water rights in the west, and we're going to see more and more mineral rights in the form of water and the disposal of waste. And that's something that has been overlooked in the campaign.
Dr. Silverman.
It seems like tonight we're talking about a lot of non-standard issues. Let me bring up one issue, and that is drugs. We're having a war on drugs, but it's also a war that we're losing. I regret that there is so much problem with drug in our society, and what I would like to see is for it to be legalized. And with the money you saved by legalizing it, I would hope that we would have a strong educational campaign to discourage people from using it, and also to build rehabilitation centers instead of prisons. About 40% of the people put in prison in the last 2 years are there for drug-related offenses. Prohibition for alcohol didn't work, and neither is our war on drugs working.
Senator.
Thank you. I think that one of the issues we have not discussed and had reported on enough is contributions, especially contributions to this governor from business and interest groups that have poured more money into him than at any other time in the history of anyone running for governor of South Carolina. More particularly the McElroy Corporation, which just recently, within the last 7 days, has been cited again for putting carcinogens into the atmosphere. This corporation gave this governor $60,000 over increments, and certainly that is a situation that was paid over a period of time after the first citation. It has not been investigated. It has not been demanded that the media, as well as others, look into whether or not there is a conflict as far as this governor and his contributors are concerned. That is one thing that we haven't discussed.
Dr. Silverman, you just mentioned that you're in favor of legalizing drugs as the solution, one solution to that problem in the state. Which drugs would you legalize, and if you had the power to draft a law, what would be some of the constraints on them, if any?
Well, at the moment, I think that the worst drug that we have in this country is tobacco. Tobacco kills more than 10 times as many people as all the other drugs, legal and illegal combined. We have William Bennett, our drug czar, who with a martini in one hand and a cigarette in the other wants to fill our prisons with marijuana users. What hypocrisy that is. What I would like to see is to have these drugs decriminalized because we're wasting a lot of money on drugs, on trying to prevent drugs that could go for better purposes, for education and for helping those unfortunate victims who are hooked on drugs. I think marijuana probably is no less harmful than tobacco, and that should be as legal as tobacco with the same kinds of constraints put on that I would like to see put on tobacco. Take out cigarette machines where minors can easily buy tobacco. But what we're doing now is just giving price supports for tobacco. And I think that we have a wrong view of drugs if we support tobacco and alcohol, yet condemn some of the other drugs.
Senator Mitchell.
Thank you. I certainly do not subscribe to either tobacco nor alcohol. I assume we're talking about illegal drugs, drugs which are brought into this country or even grown in this country and manufactured in some degree. I know very little about it except that I do not believe that we at this time know enough to make it legal or make them legal. I also feel that there should be a revised plan for federal and state prosecutors. I call it the canary theory. Instead of just arresting the street corner drug user and dealer, I believe immunity should be granted to those individuals who are caught on the street corners until we go up the ladder to find out where the drugs came from, who brought the drugs in, and to what degree the drugs have infiltrated the American borders. I believe we would get in some of the boardrooms and some of the very high-ranking individuals who we call pillars of the community, who have the boats, the airplanes, and every other mechanism to bring these illegal cancers in. We have lost too many of our children to the drug culture and must do something about it.
Mr. Peoples.
My feelings on the drug situation are a two-pronged fork. One of them is the users. People who use drugs use them to suppress their guilt, inner feelings. The people, that's one prong. That's personal. Now, the people who deal in drugs, it is an economic commodity. When the Shah of Iran was ousted, everyone with money in the country sunk their money into cocaine or heroin as an investment commodity. So drugs are used both by the international monetary system as an investment commodity and also by the individuals who use them as a suppressant of their guilt. And I think that we're fighting the symptoms and not the real problems.
Brenda Jones, question for Senator Mitchell, please.
Senator, right now Governor Campbell is not only talking about winning re-election, he's talking about winning it by a large margin. Is the governor taking your campaign as well as that of your other opponents too lightly?
I have no idea. I can't speak for this governor. The only thing I know is that he should be here instead of running as a scared rabbit because of issues we are talking about, issues that people want resolves on and want to know where their leaders are going to take them. He used a smoke screen in seeking me for me to apologize to him, which I, of course, indicated I had no intentions of even entertaining it and doing it. I have no idea. It's in the hands of the people and, of course, in God's hand. But I certainly don't want him as my governor for the next 4 years.
Mr. Peoples.
Well, I hate to break bad on anyone, but I'd like to call our current governor a yellow dog political party animal. He has avoided the debate. He's avoided the debating Senator Mitchell. He cannot have his policies and his decisions questioned before the public. And if he's elected, I'm sure you'll have the best governor money can buy.
Dr. Silverman.
Well, this is one issue that the three of us seem to be somewhat in agreement on. One of the problems I have is that even though he's not worried and he doesn't want to debate, he certainly is not at a loss for managing to collect a lot of money. I would rather see him do what I've done when people have asked to contribute to my campaign. I've told them to contribute to the American Civil Liberties Union or to their favorite charity instead of giving it to me. I see that Governor Campbell has collected several $100,000. And then I would much rather see him tell his contributors, look, give that $200,000 for education instead of $200,000 to help buy a slick TV ad saying that he's in favor of education.
We have under 3 minutes. Andy Brack, quick question for Mr. Peoples and some response from the other candidates.
Mr. Peoples, some have criticized South Carolina's tax system as being too regressive, which means that the poor pay more than their fair share. What is your remedy?
Cut back on government. We have too many people sitting in coffee-drinking jobs. The government is bad. Big industry is bad. I've heard many, many people say people at work are spending all their time on personal problems, and they're not doing anything productive.
Dr. Silverman.
Well, in general, I'm against regressive taxes, except if they can also benefit our society. And there are some kinds of regressive taxes that can. One that I mentioned is the state lottery. I know there tend to be more poor people than wealthy people who play the lottery. I'm not in favor of that, and I hope people wouldn't do it to a large extent. But whatever funds are raised that would be for education, I think ultimately will help poor people break out of the poor cycle within education that they're in.
Senator Mitchell.
Thank you. Two taxes I have problems with. One is the 1988 retroactive capital gains tax that Campbell signed into law to let 21 of his rich friends receive almost $9 million, when we haven't been able to buy textbooks for the last 2 years for our children. The next tax that I'm in opposition to is the local option sales tax, which is on the ballot for a referendum vote. It is a regressive tax. It impacts most heavily on the poor, the elderly, and the sick, and those who are retired. I had supported this tax when it exempted food, but as long as the $40 million in food was included in it, then certainly out of $290 million, it will only benefit large property owners, corporations, and individuals who have more than enough than they have now. But all people will be paying for this tax: poor, elderly, sick, retired, and what have you. I am against a regressive tax because it impacts most heavily in a negative way on those who can least afford it.
Thank you, Senator. Our time for questioning round is over. Our appreciation to the panel. And we'll begin closing statements, and we'll reverse the order of the draw. So in this case, we'll begin the closing statements first with Mr. Peoples. Mr. Peoples.
Okay. It's time to say no to more taxes. Our country's lifestyle of taxes, interest rates of 10 to 20%, and a pie-in-the-sky lifestyle have got to come to an end. People have got to interact with each other on a more congenial basis. As governor of the state during the next few years, I think I'm prepared to meet the changes, to reduce our government, its employees, and positions, and its spending, to reduce taxes, to take us back to a time where our monetary system is more stable.
Senator Theo Mitchell. Senator Mitchell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fowler. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to tell you I've enjoyed this debate. Certainly of the three of the four who are running for governor, the one who should be here isn't. And I can truly stand here and tell you that in the 16 years I have served the people of South Carolina in public office, I have endeavored to represent all of the people. I have never compromised principle, dignity, and integrity. And as governor, I would never do it. I can truly say that I have never been bought, mortgaged, sold, encumbered in any way or impeded. I am independent and certainly believe that all of us must work together to lift the level of our standard of living and enhance the quality of life for ourselves and our children, and that we must reach out and bring all of the people into the fold. No longer shall we be, or should we be satisfied with being mediocre as a state. We must take a leadership role in the 90s and prepare for the 21st century, which will demand economic demands that have never been envisioned before upon us and our children. I ask you to support me as one who has never compromised the integrity of himself nor his state to be governor of South Carolina. Thank you and good night, and may God bless each and every one of you.
Dr. Herb Silverman, your closing statement.
Thank you. I don't think God will bless me. If you care about our economy, our environment, and our general quality of life, then nothing is more essential than education. Where are our priorities? What message are we sending when schools can afford new football stadiums at which to cheer, but not new textbooks from which to learn? I'm not against athletics. I myself exercise daily, but we're becoming passive spectators instead of active participants in education and in life. I'm appalled that our newspapers devote more space to astrology than to science. We should make sure our students are grounded in critical thinking and reasoning, not merely in pledges and prayers. As a South Carolinian, I'm proud that a major party has nominated a black candidate for governor. This would not have happened 30 years ago. Though racism still exists, progress has been made. I hope to see our Constitution changed so that people of all beliefs may be eligible for public office. As an educator, I hope to show our youth that one concerned citizen can make a difference through exercising constitutional rights to correct a wrong. This is a far more positive message than that of the Election Commission, which indicated that my religious beliefs would not have been questioned had I said nothing about them. In other words, I should have lied and knowingly violated our state constitution. Don't we have enough problems with ethics now from our political leaders without sanctioning such hypocrisy? I'm a write-in candidate fighting for a principle, and I hope you will remember on Election Day the words of Eugene V. Debs. It is better to vote for what you want and not get it than to vote for what you don't want and get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Silverman. And this ends our debate. We thank the candidates, Senator Theo Mitchell, Democratic candidate, Dr. Herb Silverman, Independent write-in candidate, and Mr. John Peoples, the American Party candidate. Our thanks also to our panel of journalists for taking time out of their evening after a busy workday to be with us and assist with the questioning. Brenda Jones with WWDM Radio in Sumter, Andy Brack with the News and Courier in Charleston, and Barry Meyer with Educational Radio. We appreciate your time. Election Day is 1 week from today, and so we invite you to follow the news closely in the week ahead. This is the last of a series of debates South Carolina ETV has presented over the past few weeks with the candidates for the contested officers of South Carolina. On election evening, South Carolina ETV will be having its normal programming, and during the breaks in the programming, we'll be providing you returns anchored by Tim Carrier, live from the ETV Center in Columbia. Over programming in the lower part of the screen, we'll be having updates of all the major races. Provide you those returns from Associated Press. So that's throughout the evening on election eve, 1 week from tonight. We invite you to be with us and invite you in January to watch State House Week, our weekly news magazine of the General Assembly. For all of us at South Carolina ETV, thank you for watching. Good night.